Winter Garden Station. Return of the Defender. Characters. 1. Autumn, 35 years old. A successful crisis manager. A person who solves any problems but cannot cope with sudden bouts of numbness and inexplicable guilt. 2. Tioma, 9-year-old. Little Artem. A boy who loves to draw spaceships and dreams of being noticed, but he's afraid to look up. 3. Conductor, keeper of the tracks. A woman with a voice like the sound of the surf, wearing a cloak the color of the dawn sky. She drives a train going through time. 4. Shadow of the teacher, Mr. Gromov. The embodiment of the collective image of those who suppressed, criticized, and left little Tioma defenseless. Part 1. Glass Dead End. Artem was sitting in his office, flooded with cold, neon light. He had a contract worth millions in front of him, but he couldn't sign it. His hand froze, his ears were ringing, and the familiar icy cold was spreading in his chest. "You can't do it. You're just pretending," whispered a voice inside. At that moment, the light in the office blinked. The walls began to smoothly diverge, like theatrical scenes. Instead of the usual view of the metropolis, Artem saw endless rails going into the fog. An old train silently approached the platform, which arose directly from his desk. The door opened, and the guide appeared on the threshold. "Your ticket is 25 years overdue, Artyom," she said, "but the train is still waiting. It's time to go to the place where you left your courage." "I don't understand," Artyom began. "You're stuck here because there, in 1998, a little boy is still standing in the school hallway, waiting for help that never came. Let's go. You're not a passenger today, you're a rescue squad." Dive. Pause. Imagine that such a train is approaching you. What does it look like? An old steam locomotive? Or a futuristic express? What sound does its whistle make? Take a deep breath and imagine yourself entering the car. Part 2. Echo Corridor. The train started. The windows of the carriage turned into screens, on which fragments of memories flashed. The first bicycle, the smell of tangerines. Gray, everyday life. Screams behind the wall. "We're approaching the point of no return," the guide said. "Remember, you go there with all your adult resources. You have a voice. You have the power. You have the right to say no. Your task is not just to see. Your task is to change the ending." The train stopped. The doors opened, and Artyom inhaled the smell. Old floor mastic, cheap chlorine and wet wool. It was the smell of his school. He walked down a corridor that seemed endless. The walls were painted a dull green. Muffled voices came from behind the doors of the classrooms. And suddenly, he saw him. At the very end of the corridor, by the window, stood little Tioma. He was in a school uniform that was too big for him. His briefcase was lying on the floor, and he was clutching a sketchbook to his chest. In front of him stood Mr. Gromov, a labor teacher, a huge, tobacco-smelling man with a heavy gaze. "Well, Cosmonaut," Gromov's voice thundered, echoing along the empty corridor. "Are you in the clouds again? Your drawings are garbage. You will never achieve anything if you do not learn to stand at attention. Look at me when I'm talking to you." Little Tioma shrunk. His shoulders trembled. He couldn't look up. He was alone, against this giant. Part 3. Pain monitoring. Adult Artyom stood a few steps away, hidden by the shadow of the column. He remembered that moment. In reality, then he just stood and was silent while the teacher tore up his drawing, and then he felt broken for a long time. He saw Teoma swallowing tears convulsively. He saw the absolute, black helplessness of the child. "Why doesn't anyone leave the classroom?" Artyom whispered to the guide, who appeared nearby. "Why are the other teachers silent?" "Because the world was empty in your memory at that moment," she replied. "There was only a tyrant and a victim. Are you ready to intervene?" Mr. Gromov stretched out his huge hand and snatched the album from Teoma's hands. "You won't need that anymore," he said, and raised his hand to tear the paper. Teoma closed his eyes and pulled his head into his shoulders, waiting for the sound of the tearing flesh of his dreams. Part 4. Defenders. Intervention. Enough. Artyom's voice sounded like a thunderclap. He stepped out of the shadows. At this moment, he was not a manager or a businessman. He was the embodiment of rage and love. Mr. Gromov froze. His figure began to lose clarity, becoming gray and unstable. He tried to turn around, but Artyom was already there. He was taller than his master, stronger than him, and in his eyes there was a fire before which any shadow retreats. Artyom firmly intercepted Gromov's hand. "Put it down." "Album." "To the place," Artyom said, hammering out every word. His voice vibrated with pent-up force. "Who are you?" Gromov wheezed, trying to regain his greatness. "I am what he will become, thanks to these drawings. I am his future, and in this future, there is no place for people like you. Go away. Your time is up. You no longer have power over him." Never. Artyom did not just look at the teacher. In his mind, he erected an invisible wall of pure golden light between Teoma and Gromov. Gromov began to shrink, turning into a small gray spot on the floor, which was soon dispelled by the draft. Artyom turned to his little self. Teoma stood with his mouth open, looking at this tall, confident man in an expensive coat. "You. Who are you?" the boy whispered. Artyom dropped to one knee, so that their eyes were at the same level. He took the album and carefully placed it in the child's hands. "I'm you, Teoma. Only after many years, and I have come to tell you, you are doing everything right. Your ships will fly. Your drawings are the most valuable thing in this school." But he said I was nothing. He lied because he was deeply unhappy and empty. "Listen to me carefully. I will never, you hear, never again allow anyone to talk to you like that. I'll always be behind your back. You are no longer alone." Artyom hugged the boy. He felt the small body tense and then relax. Teoma buried his face in the shoulder of adult Artyom and finally burst into tears. But these were not tears of shame, but tears of relief. Pause for reflection. Imagine this moment. You are hugging your little self. Feel that warmth. What would you whisper in his ear right now? What is the most important word for him to hear? Part 5. The Merge and the New Ending. "Now look," Artyom said, pulling away. The corridor of the school began to change. The gray walls blossomed with bright frescoes. The windows became huge, and behind them, instead of a dusty courtyard, there was a blooming garden. Other children came out of the classroom. They were smiling. They came up to Teoma and asked to show the drawings. The world was no longer empty. "It has become safe." The guide approached them. The train on the platform released a cloud of white steam. "It's time to go back, Artyom." But you're not leaving alone. Tioma took Artem by the hand. Can I go with you? The boy asked. You'll always be with me. Now, you don't live in the cold corridor of 1998, but in my heart, and when I am scared, I will remember your drawings. And when you are sad, you call me, and I will come. They entered the carriage together. The train started moving, but now it was not going through the fog, but through the blinding sunlight. Epilogue. Artem opened his eyes in his office. The rain outside the window stopped. The contract was still lying on the table. He took the pen. His hand no longer trembled. The ice in my chest melted, leaving behind a steady, calm warmth. He signed the document, but before calling the assistant, Artem took a blank sheet of paper out of the drawer. He did not write a plan to capture the market. He took a simple pencil and in the corner of the paper, almost imperceptibly, sketched a small, swift spaceship going into the distant stars. He smiled. Now he knew that the ending of the story could always be rewritten, if you had the courage to come back for yourself. Practical task. This story is your template. To make it work 100%, do the following. 1. Find your pain point. Think of a situation where you felt most defenseless. 2. Step into the role of the protector. Imagine yourself today, with all your knowledge and power entering that room. 3. Say words of power. What would you say to the abuser? What would you say to the child? 4. Change the ending. Be sure to watch the inner movie until the moment when the child is saved and the space around him has become bright and safe.